What's up, guys? It's Julian. Today I'm on the road, but I'm going to be showing you the top 5 sound design techniques for modern hard house, the style like Kyle Starkey, Sam Alfred that everybody wants to learn how to make. I'm going to be using one of the kits from my Ultimate Hard House sample pack. The link's at the top of the description. Definitely check that out, guys. It's got these 5 awesome kits where you get the Ableton file and all the loops plus the MIDI, and yeah, literally everything you need. If you go in here, you can even pull the presets and the individual samples as well. It's a really great library for hard house, and it also helps keep me going so I can keep bringing you guys tutorials like this every day. Thanks for the support, guys. Every little bit helps, and let's get going. All right, so the first technique that I want to show you guys for hard house is having a chord progression, which is moving, and then having a melody underneath it, which stays the same. So we got that here. Right, so like what's going on here is we have a very static melody between these two elements. And it largely stays in the same place, right? It's very simple, but then you have the chord progression moving around it. Now, this is not exclusive to hard house. This is really like a pop songwriting thing that a lot of people do, but I think it just works so well with these big, bouncy, kind of like huge festival tracks like this. Because what's going to end up happening is harmonically, your track is kind of like moving, but yet it's like very steady as well, and it creates a very pleasing thing, I think, for the listener, right? Just on a psychological level beyond musicality. It's like, it makes it very easy to follow, and it makes it really catchy as well if you did this kind of thing. So I definitely recommend playing around with that. You know, maybe you just have a melody that's like, you know, that kind of stuff, and then you might have some chords. You know, that kind of stuff, right? And then this way, you can just really create, like, again, a more like inviting sort of track that I think is a lot catchier. The next trick here that I want to show you for hard house is actually going to be about layering. So if you look at this piano, obviously it sounds like a piano and it has all that, but it's clear that there's something a bit otherworldly to it. And it has a kind of power to it that you can't get from just a piano on its own. So the way that we're doing this is by layering. I've got this piano. We have this little Rhodes. And then we have this synth. So you can hear they all kind of complement each other. They all do very different things, but when you put them together, you basically just get this like super piano. And yeah, so that's what we're calling this, the super piano technique. If you want that super piano like you hear, you have to layer synths together. I mean, that is the sound, right? And it can be a lot of different things. Like in this case, I was going for something a bit more vibey, with this analog being just very like weird, right? I think it can also work quite well though. You know, if it's like that as well, you could do like a super saw. And that's the other cool thing is with the filter there. It kind of gives your piano like a lot of evolution over the track because you can move that and you can get a lot of different things out of it. So then there's that. From there, I think the next very important thing for this type of hard house is actually going to be these rave loops. So if you listen to our drums, and I'll play the bass with it too. This is about the extent of the programmed percussion that you're hearing in a lot of these tracks. You know, with a lot of these tracks, there's obviously a lot of like kind of breakbeat sort of percussion and like what sounds like a lot of layers of percussion. And I know for a fact what these guys are doing is they're not making that stuff by hand. Like, this is the only stuff that you're going to make by hand pretty much. Maybe you could throw in a few little hi-hats if you wanted to, but then you're grabbing these like breakbeat kind of rave loop things. And that's what fills it in. And I think this might seem obvious if you know what's going on there, but if you don't, like, those people really need to hear this, because I think when you hear this stuff, it can be easy to kind of be daunted and sort of be like, wow, like, how are they getting that much percussion? But yeah, it's these famous loops. These are, you know, obviously I've made a bunch of these. There's the Vengeance ones. There's all the old ones from back in the day. You basically just get these kind of like housey loops and put them in here. These are a bunch of mine from this pack as well. If you want a video on how to make those from scratch, let me know. But basically then you're going to bring them in, and you can see like they're all pretty much side chained and then high passed a little bit. Like, you really just want these in the mids and highs. Right, they're not taking up that much space in your mix, but then without them, it makes a big difference, right? It's giving you a lot of energy in your track. And scientifically, this is because really the energy of your track is in the high end. Like, the groove is in the low end, the energy is in the high end. So as soon as you take these out, that's like the explainable way that you can tell why these give so much energy to the track, right? It's just because all that high end is where all the real like excitement happens, right? So then the next thing I want to talk about here, the next technique that I think could save a lot of people's tracks, because I've been listening to a lot of hard house lately and studying it for these videos, and I kind of realized, like, I think as long as you just turn the kick all the way as like the loudest thing, like the kick and bass, you kind of can't go wrong with your mix. Like, you know, let's just take this whole thing and unmix it really quick. Right? And we'll bring it all down. Alright, now let's try to balance everything. Right? Like, we'll just bring that down a little. And then if we just bring the kick all the way up, check it out. Right? Like, it's definitely not the best mix, but you could play that in a club and people will be like, wow, that really hits. So I think there's a lot to be said for just having your kick up really, really loud. Like, especially studying Kettama's tracks and stuff, I've realized that like a lot of times, as long as your kick is really up there hitting with this stuff and you have that with the bass line, you can get away with a lot. And like, I wouldn't overthink your mixes, you know, especially with this genre. I would just get that kick and bass, and even like those main drums, right? Like, I'd say it's kick, bass, hi-hat, and clap up on top of the mix, and then everything else will sit. Because that's really what's making people dance. Alright, and now the last technique here that I think is very important, so stick around to the end, because if you miss this, you're not going to be able to make good hard house, I promise. What you're going to do is a lot of times your bass line is just going to be this kind of thing, right, with the kick. And you would think that you don't need to sidechain that. Like, that is already kind of, you know, fitting in with the kick, right? But there's something that tends to happen when you just have like a synth, where you see that's without any sidechain. It's hitting all right, and it is definitely on the upbeats. But for some reason, when we sidechain this, I'm using the auto pan for like a fake sidechain. Just having that extra bit of volume shaping, just cutting down the volume right there, like every sort of beat. It's really subtle, but it fits a lot better. And that's the kind of thing that maybe if you don't have the ear, you might not be able to tell, but it's going to make a big difference regardless, especially as far as just like your track feeling really pro. Like, maybe if you're at that point where you got a good track, but like for whatever reason, it's kind of missing that last bit of like, you know, really matching up to those references. Try this. I really think there's some little thing. I mean, I guess it's because there's release on the synth I don't know. I don't like to think about that stuff too much. Personally, I think it's all magic. But I just know that when I bring in the auto pan like that, the magic happens. And the whole thing sits a lot better. So that's gonna be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. That is the 5 essential techniques for hard house. You all need to know this if you want to make hard house. Let me know if you want to see more of this. Let me know if you want to see how to make the rave loops and the break beats and stuff like that as well. If you want some of those and you want this template we use plus more, you can grab Ultimate Hard House. Link is at the top of the description. Thanks for the support, guys. It's a really, really great, solid piece of samples for your hard house productions to make the best track of your life immediately as soon as you download it. There's really not much you can do right now to make better music, but if you grab this right now, you really will, I promise. Thanks for the support, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow with another one.